Live. Okay, we are live for this new webinar, How to Optimize Your Airbnb Listing in 2026, with my dear friend Bart, from founder of Otamiser. How are you, Bart, today?
Hey, Tomato, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. So that means I'm very, very happy today.
Good, 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 good. Glad that you took the time to talk about such an interesting topic for me personally as a part-time property manager, and also for all our prospects and customers. But I think before deep diving into today's topic, I love to start with a bit of an introduction of each other, and I think you should start.
Perfect. So my name is Bart, or Bartjan, as they say in Flemish. I'm the founder of Otamiser. Otamiser is a company that specializes in everything OTAs. How do you properly optimize an OTA? But not really which buttons you click, but what's the rationale behind optimizing an OTA? How do you optimize an OTA to leverage your revenue strategy? That's what Otamiser is all about. We started 3 years ago solely with hotels. 1 year ago, we moved also to short-term rentals. And Tommaso, now I will give the floor to you again.
Thank you. Thank you for the intro. And I have to add, these guys at Otamiser are, my opinion, as far as my knowledge goes, the biggest experts in terms of OTA optimization. I've been learning
Thank you.
a lot over the past couple of months from you guys.
Thank
Regarding
you.
me and my company specifically, Smartness, we started as a revenue management company, dynamic pricing. Smart pricing is our first product, but we are now expanding to more and more solutions like Smart Connect, which is our AI email marketing tool, Smart Chat, AI agents, and more products coming to basically try to meet the needs, the growing needs of our customer base, among which, of course, OTA optimization, more visibility, and this we do thanks to an amazing collaboration with Bart. Should we start?
Perfect.
Yeah. What do you think?
Perfect.
So we have because the agenda is quite dense for today. So I think we want to start from the basics. Tell us a bit more about because if I remember correctly, you have a specific product for Airbnb, which is called
Yep.
AutoRank. So can you tell us a bit more about AutoRank
Yep.
and which problem does it solve?
Yep. Definitely. For that, it always helps to bring the whole story of our origins. So we started 3 years ago when my parents bought a bed and breakfast in the city center of Bruges. And they said, look, you're good with numbers. You studied something complicated at university. Go and fix it for me. So this is where me and the other founders dove into the problem. We came across a lot of wonderful dynamic pricing solutions, just like smart pricing back in the day. And we found like, okay, the extra revenue we can generate with dynamic pricing is enormous. But we quickly realized that the impact we could make with dynamic pricing could only be accelerated whether we optimize also ranking, because ranking, if Booking.com, Airbnb puts you at a certain position in their searches, that means they have a certain chance and they expect you to be booked. If they put you high, they expect you to be booked because they want to make revenue. So for that, ranking is the output of booking probability, the chance of getting booked. Initially, we started with doing Booking.com, Expedia for hotels. And then 1 year ago, we launched a separate product called AutoRank, dedicated towards Airbnb and then dedicated towards Airbnb for property managers, property owners, short-term rental hosts, because Airbnb is a way different algorithm than Booking.com, than Expedia. It changes so drastically. If everyone here in the audience and you and I, Tomato, are starting to look for Airbnb for a certain market, we will all see different searches. That means it's super dynamic. Everything happening, every click, every intent is having an impact on it. And we wanted to take away that pain for property managers so they don't have to worry about, okay, is my description okay? Is my picture order okay to what the rationality of today needs? So this is where Otterank came across. Otterank that, solves the problem of having to optimize your OTAs. And if you don't, you lose revenue and your dynamic pricing software cannot work appropriately. So this is what we do. We take away that pain and we optimize it. Otterank optimizes it for them.
Yeah. And if I may add, when we started now almost 6 years ago, of course, we didn't really have a software behind I mean, yes, we had a software, but it was really basic, and one of the biggest optimizations we were doing for our own listings, but also for our very first customers, was on visibility on OTAs, because I 100% agree, the two solutions together really can give you a 2x boost in revenue performance. So 100% agree. In the end, we decided to go more towards the RMS when you took a different path.
Exactly.
So actually, you were your first client, is it correct? Or how did you start? How did it come about?
So we got very much acquainted with revenue management software with dynamic pricing tools because 4 years ago they were already there. You had you guys were there, you had some other players, but then we looked something, okay, we don't want to every day change things on our booking.com extranet, on our OTAs, on we have to manage. So we started to outsource it. First, we outsourced it to a team offshore that could do it for us, but then we quickly realized that they don't have the data nuances. Okay, why do we change our first picture when we say data is telling this? Those little things. And this is where we started saying, look, let's make a software out of it. We couldn't find anyone in the market and we needed to solve that pain because the property of my dad, we just, wanted to let it go. We didn't want to really do a lot of work in it, and it had to be automated. And we knew we could accelerate the impact of dynamic pricing if we had a revenue manager, if we have an OT optimization solution.
And when it comes to property managers, who you want to tell us a bit more about, your first Outrank customers and which were the early results that you got from this fully automated solution?
Yep. So it's actually a nice story. So we were doing it for hotels, and we met a fellow Belgian who has a property management company of over 600 units in the United States. And he said, look, what you guys are building, come and build it for Airbnb as well, because I want to replace my team in the Philippines who is doing it manually. And this is how we started building. And still today, they're seeing an increase of 150% in page views, way more click-through ratio, meaning that we get way more people to their listing, meaning way more bookings. And if they get way more bookings, dynamic pricing software, they start to adjust. So there's way more data coming to all parts of the chain. If there are more bookings, prices get more accurate because there are more touch points. Pickup is better, so algorithms start to perform better.
Well, it's a nice story and quite a big customer to get started with. So congratulations on the results. But I guess we work with the same customers, so it's not always easy to convince them, to move to a new solution, new technology. Now there is a lot of hype around AI. It's a buzzword. So what's the biggest sort of objection you receive when trying to move a host to use your solution?
Well, the biggest objection we face is that they say, look, I don't want my OTAs to generate more money. I want more direct bookings, which is fair. I think that's a very fair objection that they have. At the other side, we always counter it. The Booking.com, the Airbnbs of this world, they are so big and they will keep on being big. As an individual property management company or an individual hotel, it's impossible to have a brand as strong as those big channels. But nevertheless, for the majority of our customer, we actually also see an increase in direct bookings because there is a phenomenon called the billboard effect, where a certain amount of travelers find you on an OTA, find you on Airbnb, then they copy paste your title and they go to your website and book it because it's X% cheaper there. So it's an objection we sometimes face, that they want to optimize direct, but it's not because you optimize OTAs that you eliminate direct. It's a flywheel, and
100%.
it's
100%. And I want to add on this. It was a funny meeting I had a couple of days ago. I was speaking to an hotelier, and he was telling me that he really doesn't like Booking.com, and he was charging an increased price on Booking.com versus direct bookings of 60 to 70%. And then he asked him, okay, but out of curiosity, what's your occupancy rate over the year? And his occupancy rate was like between 50 to 70%. And so, these are kind of situations where, okay, you want to get more direct bookings, but you are penalizing your OTA visibility so much due to bad pricing strategies that you hurt the overall performance of the property. And so,
exactly.
I can relate to what you were saying.
And we have seen a lot of instances on the direct booking side where, people want to optimize for direct bookings, but if you then start calculating the cost of acquisition of a direct guest, it turns out way higher because you have to do social media ads, Google ads, and so on, where the costs are sometimes even higher than an OTA. Where other instances where we see that people use OTAs to acquire guests, capture their data, start smart marketing sequences, they have way better output. So for me, it's not A or B, but it's A and B.
100%. No. I think you want to grow the pie before you start, optimizing too much for the direct versus OTAs.
Exactly.
Look, I've seen the product, of course. I've seen it already, and it's quite a sophisticated platform. But let's say that I'm a bit stubborn, and I want to try to do it on my own. I don't want to use a platform. I want to do it by hand. Which elements of my Airbnb listing are the most important for optimization?
I always love to start with the visual ones. That's picture, title, description. Picture is very visual. It's what the human eye goes to. If they like the picture, that's a good start. So if you want to do it yourself, this is just like an industry knowledge. Just start with good pictures, then you're already there. But also start with thinking about nice picture, because if you look at the data, the majority of all the searches start on people's phone, even though they still book on a desktop, on a computer, on another device, but they capture the attention on a mobile. So this is just the basic: get decent pictures. But then looking at your description, when you would go to your market, go and look at the first pages of Airbnb. What kind of descriptions are they typing? Is it bullet points? Is it emojis? Is it all the different options you have? And start searching for similarities. If you would open, let's say, the first 10 listings that you can find in your search region, and you see they all have bullet points, that means that the guest type in that specific region likes bullet points, because Airbnb, they change their algorithm to what guests of that region are searching for. If all the guests are clicking on platforms or on listings that have bullet points, okay, this will be favorable. So it's just try to compare yourself and try to be as well as accurate as possible. That's maybe the third layer. Don't oversell. Never ever, because everyone can get quick bookings saying they have a swimming pool and don't really have a swimming pool. But that's not how you run an Airbnb business. You have to be accurate as much as possible. Don't oversell your bathroom. Don't oversell your amenities, because the accuracy score is super important in the longevity of your listing. If you have a good accuracy score, a good review score, because accuracy is contributing to the review score, then your listing will start. But it's all about, staying true to yourself, staying true to your customers, and making sure that the visual appeals are there.
That's good stuff. Good, but not easy. Not easy to do. Personally, as a property manager, we have so many things that we need to take care of. The more operational stuff, and I think this listing optimization part, despite being so important, ends up being always among the last things we take care of. And personally, my experience, we were delegating a lot of it to new joiners in the company, but you realize that actually you're delegating such an important part of your business to a person that maybe is not so much of an expert, in it.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
point of reflection.
And something we see there as a lot, especially if you're a property manager, let's say you have 50 units, you're on Airbnb, Booking, Expedia, let's say 5 OTAs, that's 250 listings you have to maintain. And if for some reason you forget the Airbnb account of one and Airbnb is your main channel, then you're losing revenue. So it's just super important to become on top of it. And if you're on top, then the whole ecosystem of softwares can work with it.
Makes sense. So I was reading some of the notes I took to prepare for this chat, and I was now thinking like not every market is the same. So you have more competitive markets in Italy. I think about, for example, Milan, super competitive market, and then you have other markets which are a lot less competitive in terms of OTAs. My region specifically, we have even hotels and properties that decide not to be on Booking.com. You reverse completely the order of power. But let's imagine we are in Milan or some other big city where it's important to be there. It's important to have a lot of visibility. So it's a highly competitive and saturated market. Which steps should I take as a property manager to really try to stand out compared to my competitors?
Yep. So for that, as you said, it's important to understand your market. A very dynamic city like Milan will have a lot of changing search results. Why? A lot of people at the same moment are looking to book a stay in Milan. Every time a guest or a user of Airbnb performs an action on Airbnb, something changes to the search rankings. Let's say they scroll for 2 minutes, impact on the search results, because that means every listing they scroll past to is rejected. Let's say they click on the listing, they go to all the pictures, they don't book it. It means maybe something is wrong with the price. So the bigger the city, the more guests, the more data that is captured in the search results of Airbnb. The more data that is captured, the more dynamic those searches are. So the more dynamic, the more important it is to react quickly to it. Because if you only change your listing maybe once a month, and in that month, the algorithms and the search results and how the search results are computed have changed 1,000 times, then it really doesn't matter. You can compare it to dynamic pricing. If you only once a month perform an update, if your RMS is only doing once per month an update, a lot of things are happening in the meantime. You have to stay on top of it.
Yeah, but out of curiosity, just for me also to understand how far we could take this concept. We take the example of Milan. In Milan, there are some huge events like the Fashion Week. Would you try to adjust your listing also based on these events, or is it too extreme?
Yeah, exactly. So that's something what we cover as well, that originated from a test we did here in Belgium. So in Belgium, we have a quite famous festival called Tomorrowland, and what we looked at was, when are people starting to book for Tomorrowland? It's quite evident they start booking when the moment they have tickets, then they're searching on Google Tomorrowland Airbnb to book. From the moment ticket sales are out or tickets start selling, it's important to include it in the listing, because then you'll get found when people search Airbnb for Tomorrowland, then you get found. But of course, we delete it when you get a booking, so when people want to book a random night. 6 months later, they don't see it. So it's important to stay on top of it, especially for those events, and especially in some markets where booking pace is not going well because it's low season. If you have those local events, if you have those sector events, industry events, it's important to include them because people are looking for it. It's mimicking the searches of an Airbnb user, and it's being, it's playing in their favor. They are searching, for example, for some construction fair in Milan. Okay, then that construction fair can yield to occupancy. So it's important to include this. And it's important to do it at the right time. It's not, saying always we are near to the construction fair site, but it's about being there
maybe
when
it's
people start
relevant
booking
just
their
for a couple of weeks, and then you need to remove it. And of course, if you have 100 plus, but even if you have 20, 30 listings, even imagining to do all of this by hand, I personally, I wouldn't want to do it.
Exactly. And to tap into that, we also did an analysis and we looked at for whom is this really relevant. And our initial hypothesis is also, look, this is very relevant for enterprise, for 100 plus. But what we looked at, or what we saw, is that the full-time equivalent working on this just scales with it. The lower you go in the amount of listings, just the less amount of time is dedicated. So it scales quite linearly. So that means it should be done by everyone, especially if you're only 10 units. That means you're 10 units. You cannot have one that's underperforming. They all need to perform because you need to grow your business. And if one of them has a weird setup, then that's not going well.
No, makes a lot of sense. And I was also then thinking about markets because I guess there are some differences potentially between Europe, US, emerging markets. Have you seen practically any differences in OTA optimization?
Yes, but the answer is twofold. How the search results or the search engines react to data input or to guest behavior is quite the same. But it's more about how is the market constituted in terms of other OTAs. Let's say in Europe, you have Booking.com, who is very dominant, meaning that they take a lot of availability away of being sent to Airbnb. Meaning that if you send more availability to Airbnb than to Booking.com, you get favored, for example. While in the US, Airbnb is a bit more dominant, so they expect you to send that certain amount of availability. So it all depends on the market. What are the other OTAs playing there? Is, for example, in some markets, Airbnb is scraping Booking.com rates or Expedia rates and checking how is this listing performed. If you have a lower rate on Booking or on Airbnb, this means you get penalized on the other OTAs. So it's important to understand the whole constitution of the market. What are the other OTAs and which OTAs are taking that availability? And that availability is important because Airbnb rewards, or a search engine or an OTA rewards properties who give them goods to sell, who give them inventory, who give them options for them to make money. And if you sell 90% on Booking.com and only you send then the remaining 10 to Airbnb because it's always blocked on Booking because of Booking.com, that's not being rewarded by Airbnb. So it really depends also on the market, and it's about choosing which OTA is there for me and start optimizing them, and then you can yield the highest results.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you for these insights. Last formal question, but then I have a couple of follow-up questions. It's clear how the software works, and actually I suggest for everybody that is listening to us also check it out on the website. Maybe you can request a one-to-one demo so that the guys can show you the tool live. But can you give us maybe an example or a case study of a customer that was not using Autorank and then or was not really doing optimization, and then you stepped in with Autorank? What were the results in terms of OTA performance and also impact on the top line?
I will go back to the first American customer we had. So it's Casiola, so quite big property manager who is expanding into a lot of different markets worldwide. Um, and what we noticed is they had a lot of listings who like never in 3 months received a booking on Airbnb. And then some listings who did. It was very random. Even though they were, very sophisticated revenue management team, but some listings were just not performing, and they couldn't clarify it. They couldn't say why. And we noticed because their ranking, their positioning on the search results was just too low, so the booking probability was almost zero. So people don't book it, and then because of that, they got more booked on other channels, more or less favorable channels. So what we did is we accelerated those listings again. We got views in there. The views spiked 150% increase, sometimes 200% increase on the listing. So we showed it to the right amount of customers. So people started actually clicking on it, booking on it. And Airbnb and OTA works as a flywheel. Once you get a booking, you get adopted again in the algorithm. Then you have a certain amount of time frame to get another booking. And if your pickup is okay, then you get taken off. Same with a lot of new listings. And I can imagine the people in the audience can also relate to this. If you have a new listing and you price it wrong, let's say the first month, you're dead. You will probably not take off on Airbnb anymore. So it's all about what we are doing. We're putting an engine. We're putting an engine on the amount of people that are looking at the listing. But of course, you need to have a booking. And that's why, collaboration with a very smart and very good revenue management software helps, because they need to react on it, and they need to react on it on a daily basis, because I have seen other tools that only do it once a week, once a month, and then you're missing opportunities. Because if you're fueling for pickup, if your revenue management strategy is pickup based, which is of course the best for an OTA algorithm and the best for visibility, and if your revenue management software can support it, like smart pricing can, of course, and this is where you yield the best results. With Casiola, they saw, to come back to your question, Tommaso, they saw 150%, sometimes 200% per listing increase. And this is across multiple markets in the United States, Aruba, different places worldwide. So it's important to stay on top of that and let it sync with your revenue management strategy.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. It's a very interesting case study. It's one from a big property manager. I think maybe on your website we're going to be able to find more, also slightly smaller ones, because unfortunately not everyone has already 300 listings. But I think we are all aiming, to grow and scale. Most importantly, trying to scale with the right tools, because if you scale with the right tools, the amount of energy, the amount of effort you will put in is not going to grow exponentially, but it's going to, flatten out eventually.
Exactly. And I strongly believe, and this is a philosophical question, that it's a moral duty to think in growth. It's your moral duty, as everyone here in the audience is an entrepreneur, to think in growth. How can I make sure that something I'm doing once, I never ever have to do, and it's being performed better by software, by someone else? But maybe also for people in the audience, even though if you have only one listing or two listings, reach out on our websites, reach out to me on LinkedIn. And worst case, we will give you some advice how you can fix it.
Yeah. Thank you, Bart. By the way, we are also working, I think, on some material, co-branded, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's going to be super useful for everybody here in the audience, where we basically share all the best practices that that we discussed today. But at least you're going to have it in a written format, well organized, because I mean it's not rocket science, but it's also a lot to take in. I think, at least personally, I love to have a little guide for my optimization, until of course I'm ready to completely hand over these activities to Autorank. Do we have any? Good. From my team says we're going to publish tomorrow on our websites. So tomorrow we're going to have it. Amazing. just in time. Before we potentially open the floor to the audience, I want to ask you, Bart, looking ahead, 2026, any trends that you see coming, and connected to this, any functionalities that you're planning to add to your solution?
Yep. I think this is important to also look at what are Airbnb objectives. Airbnb, they are guest first. They are there, they want to, based in their search models, are giving the guest the best potential stays. So Airbnb will again, delete worst performing listings. They will favor listings with a high review score. For that, a super important feature we are releasing is we are starting to take guest feedback into everything we generate with our LLMs. Everything we do into the output of descriptions we push, because we noticed if you oversell it, what I was saying, you get a potential lower review score. So we have right now the target variable accuracy score also embedded into our solution. But next to that, we will make it possible for property managers to track their performance and check how they're doing, to check how their ranking is. So a lot of things happening. And for us, it's always important to stay ahead of what Airbnb is releasing. Airbnb, as I said, is guest first, is all about good review scores. And that's also what we are aiming for as well, to give the guest the best potential stay and decrease the chance of a bad review score. Of course, we're not wizards. If the apartment is not clean and you will get their bad review score, that will happen. But everything from a value expectation, we will be able to set perfectly on a guest type basis.
Great. Interesting. Really cool, really cool functionality. And yeah, absolutely. Guest reviews, it's something that we are also looking into personally as the property management side of our business, because they provide such valuable feedback, to adjust to adjust the property.
Exactly.
I think for today, I'm done with questions. We are going to have this material published tomorrow on our websites. So for everyone that tuned in, feel free to check out the materials. We're also going to send you a follow-up email with details on how to download it. Any questions from the audience? I don't see any. Maybe we were too clear, or maybe everyone fell asleep while we were speaking.
There are two options for that.
You never know. So far, no questions. Anyway, we are more than happy to take questions also offline. I'm not sure if we can share. Well, we are going to share our emails in a follow-up email after this webinar. My email is pretty simple. Is my name, Tommaso, @smartness.com. Bart, yours is
Bart at Otamiser.com or Bart at Otterang.com. Everything works.
So super easy. like me. And yeah, I want to thank you again for your time today, Bart. We are gonna meet in Las Vegas for a fair. So we were actually discussing this before the webinar started. So pretty excited about meeting the Outerrank team there. And thank you again for the time.
Thank you, Tommaso. Thank you, everyone in the audience.
Ciao.